Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another segment of the live show. My name is Dr. Kojo Sarfo, and this is the beginning of another amazing week of streaming. We're going to be talking about motivation and a couple of things to do if you struggle with motivation. So I can't wait for you all to get into chat and for us to get going. It is a victory Monday, so the Titans won. So I'm in an absolutely fantastic mood. So we can go ahead and get started. But you know how we like to start the show. Go ahead and let me know what your name is and let me know where you're coming, checking in from in the comment section. So this is my little blurb that I put in the morning or even at night on the late night show. Let me see who's here. Krista May, good morning. So Krista May is the first person on the live stream this morning. So we'll go ahead and give Krista May a love of the show, the first love of the show of the week. All right, we got good morning, love from the Philippines. Chef Sean, what's going on? We have Arkansas in the house. We have Suzanne sitting here completely unmotivated. This pops up. All right, perfect. We're gonna talk about it from New York. We got Chicago in the house, Toronto, been in bed laying crying. All right, I got some tips for you. No worry. Brittany from Texas. Congratulations on becoming a nurse, Brittany. We got someone from Petersburg. Wow. Okay, Jennifer in the house. We got Amber in the house. Good morning from Phoenix. What's up? What's up? I struggle with ADHD paralysis. Me too. Me too. And these are some tips that helped me out. And I think they can help you out as well. So especially if you struggle with ADHD paralysis, I have motivation like 2 times a month in Mania, and I got nothing. All right, Chris, I got something for you. I got something for you. Love from the Philippines, love from Texas, love from Florida, love from Virginia, love from Michigan, Maryland, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida again. All right, so let's talk about it, right? So if you struggle with motivation, what are 3 things that you can do? All right, so keep in mind that it's not normal for us to always be motivated, right? We can watch a YouTube video or we can watch a live stream or we can watch these different things and then we get this big feeling where we're like, all right, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to kick things into high gear. But it doesn't always work that way, right? So we have to figure out how do we navigate when we're not motivated. And somebody in the stream was saying that they get motivated twice a month when they're manic, and when they're not manic, they don't know how to get anything done. So obviously that's a unique struggle, but hopefully these tips will help you out. All right. Good morning from Missouri. Hey, Jacqueline, what's going on? What's going on? Julie, what's up? What's up? Oh wow, we have France in the house. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. All right, so let's get to this first tip. All right, and this might be a bit of an interesting one, but hear me on this one. Hear me on this. All right, let me know if this works out. All right, so the first thing that you can do if you struggle with motivation is you can spend time with the most disciplined person you know. All right, this is very important for a couple of reasons because motivation will take you somewhere, right? But discipline will take you far. Discipline always takes you far because that's I don't want to do this, but I do it because I have to. I don't want to do this, but I do this because I'm doing it out of routine. I'm doing it because it's just part of what I do, right? But the things that you do out of discipline, right? Waking up early, getting to work on time, going to the gym, cooking your own food, trying to cut back on processed foods. All of those things help make you a superstar, right? They're going to make you a beast, and for the person who's disciplined, they're going to be more motivated, right? And the reason is when you're disciplined, you already have momentum. And people who are waiting for motivation, you'll sit back and you just kind of hang around, all right, I'm waiting for someone to motivate me. I'm waiting for a YouTube video, or I'm waiting for somebody to like also do this work as well. But keep in mind that for the most part, at least from what I've seen, it's the action that precedes the motivation, right? So once you start to do the daily things, right, you tap into that motivation because you're already in motion, right? It's really, really difficult to move something that's not already in motion. But if you're already in motion, it makes it that much simpler, right? So if you spend time with the most disciplined person that you know, what's that going to do? over time, you're going to pick up their habits. You're going to pick up their mannerisms. You might start dressing like them. You might start talking like them, right? And I don't want you to have to take on that person's whole personality. Maybe if you want to, sure, go ahead, be my guest. But the most important thing is when you're around people who are disciplined, right? You can't help but to pick up on some of their habits. And especially if you struggle with motivation yourself, right? You may be relying on them for motivation, or a little bit of discipline in the beginning. And especially for those people who have ADHD, we talk about this whole concept of body doubling, where I'm in the room and I'm struggling to get things done. So I'm like, all right, I see Mariah or somebody. I'm like, hey, Mariah, can you come over and can you just work right here next to me while I get my work done? Because if you work right next to me, I'll be super productive, right? So if Mariah's over, right, and I'm working here and Mariah's working there, and I'm looking at Mariah and I'm like, oh, wow. So every morning she journals, she meditates, she works out, she gets to work on time, she makes her own breakfast. I'm like, all right, I like what Mariah is doing, right? And over time, I start to pick up on some of the things that she's doing. And as I mirror her and I bring them into my life, I become more motivated because I'm doing the difficult things day in and day out. So that's something that you should definitely keep in mind. And speaking of Mariah, I didn't know you're a Titans fan, but now that I know, I'm a big fan of you. So shout out to Mariah. The victory money for the Titans. We're 6-3, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, Chris, we call that body doubling. That's one of my favorite tips of all time. It might be my number one mental health tip, right? Because a lot of us on here have ADHD, including myself, right? So I love body doubling. Yeah, it really helps me get going, right? Because sometimes you just have to do the thing. You're looking at the assignment, you're like, shit, I should start on this work soon, right? I'll start in an hour. I'll do it in an hour. I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, they pushed back the deadline. I'll do next week, right? And the work never gets done, right? Step one is so true. Yeah. Max Saliba, nice name, by the way. When you hang out with people who are disciplined, you can't help but to pick up on their tendencies and their habits. Small tasks. Number one would be with my hubby. He's so motivated. Kristen, I would probably argue that your husband is very disciplined as well. Because if he's motivated, where's he getting that motivation from? And maybe he might wake up every morning and watch those inspirational YouTube videos and he might get going. But a lot of times people who constantly get motivated are already kind of doing something. So they just tap into that spirit of the motivation. Jacqueline, hey, thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate you. And Meg said, oh, hey, I was just looking for the motivation to get dressed for my first therapy session. Well timed. So Meg came on here and she saw that we had a routine, right? We have this breakfast show every morning. It's 190 people on here. So Meg, you have over almost 200 people here who are cheering you on. So let's go ahead and give Meg a love of the show. She's getting dressed for her first therapy session. 5:30. Yeah, Kristen. Yeah, I'm here in California as well. It's super early, but my mood and my mental health and the way I feel when I wake up early, I feel like a rocket man. I feel like Elton John when he sold 1 million records for the first time. I feel great when I wake up in the morning. But I used to struggle with waking up in the morning, and I started spending time with people who were waking up in the morning. And then we would hit the gym in the morning. We would go for runs. And then we had a group. Now we have a group of guys who is about 5 or 6 of us who we work out every morning. We keep each other accountable. So on the mornings when I don't feel like going to the gym, I'm still gonna go because it's become part of my routine now, right? So even if I'm not motivated, I'm still disciplined to go because if I don't go, I'm gonna get a text in the group chat like, "Hey, where are you? Are you at the gym? What's up?" It's definitely chilly this morning. Oh yeah, oof, Leilani, it's been chilly for a minute now. Shout out to Leilani, she's one of the moderators on here. I have the motivation in my brain, but then I can't translate that to making my body do the thing. So let me speak about what Cody said right here. Cody, this is a very real thing, right? And this could be ADHD paralysis, or it just might be I'm struggling to get the thing done, right? But there's a big difference between knowing what we got to do and actually doing the thing, right? So the closer you get to actually doing the thing, the better. So for me, if we're speaking about ADHD paralysis, right? Let's say I'm sitting here on the computer and I'm doing work, or I should be doing work, but I'm watching football highlights because I'm procrastinating and I don't want to do the actual work, right? Or maybe I have to go clean the backyard. What I'll do is, to break out of that ADHD paralysis, I'll talk to myself, right? I'm going off script here, but I'll talk to myself and I'll literally say, Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up, right? Kojo, get up. And I'm telling myself, it might sound weird, but I'm telling myself that until I get up. And I'll literally get up. I'll get up and I'll walk around like this. All right. I gotta go clean the backyard. I gotta clean the backyard. I gotta clean the backyard. I gotta clean the backyard, right? And me now versus when I was sitting down, I'm much closer to clean the backyard now because I'm already up. So I'm already up. So if I need to clean the backyard, I can just walk out there and handle business, right? As opposed to me just sitting down and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get the work done. I'm gonna get the work done. I'm gonna get the work done, right? So that's how I break out of that ADHD process funk sometimes. I hate that though, because sometimes I really want to get the thing done and I don't get it done in time. But then you still have to be proud of yourself for getting something done, right? Shalil, I just want to say, hey, I've been following you for a while and I'm going to school for nurse psychology. I'm also from Tennessee, then moved to Augusta and went to AU for a brief stint. I gotta give you a love to show just for that. Let's welcome Shalil to the community. And is there a good indoor exercise to get one energized and cause mood enhancing? So, Marianne, here's the thing: any exercise works. Any exercise works. You might want to wake up and do push-ups. You might want to wake up and stretch. Literally, I've gone to the gym sometimes just to stretch, and listen to music. Right, that makes me feel good. Listen to my favorite songs in the morning with a stretch. That make me feel good. And you could also go for a walk. You could go for a walk as well. But it doesn't have to be like anything like heavy weights or anything too daunting. The main thing is that you move your body, right? The body's meant to be moved. I'm up, I'm moving, dance. Yeah. Yeah. It could be my dance, right? Something. Just the body has to be moving, right? If you're in motion, then it's going to be easier to get things done because I'm already up and I'm moving, right? Joanna, have a great day. Is paralyzed with lack of motivation. Eileen, maybe, I don't know, but hopefully it helps you out. The talking to self is quite effective. I also learned to recently it allowed me to get out of my head and be present. Ooh, I gotta give Ed a love of the show. You're so true because it's so important to be present, right? And if you can be present by talking to yourself, and keep in mind when I say talking to yourself, let me just say this: this is not psychosis, right? So some of y'all might be new to this stream. I just want y'all to know that talking to yourself is not psychosis. Now, of course, it could be, a symptom of, psychosis. You might be hearing voices, right? But in this situation, I'm talking about just talking to yourself as like a pep talk. Just like the example I gave a couple minutes earlier, like me having to go get work in the backyard done, but I can't get up. So I'll say, all right, Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. I might do this. I might do that. Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. Kojo, get up. All right, we're out. Kojo, get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Clean the backyard. Clean the backyard. See, I'm getting closer and closer to doing the thing that I have to do, right? And I'm talking to myself, and that's not psychotic behavior, right? I just want to say that. So we're on the same page here. J.A. Goes, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So hard to be proud of myself when I get only part of something I'm supposed to get done, but I don't get it finished. So Richard, you're right. It's really hard to be proud of yourself when you don't finish things, right? Keep in mind, where does confidence come from? Confidence comes from repeated self-achievement. So when you do something and you finish it, right, and you do that over and over and over and over again, your confidence is going to go up. But if you start something and halfway through you get it done, right, you have like 30 tabs open or you just can't finish things, it's going to impact your confidence. So if you're struggling to get things done, you have to keep in mind that you've already done a couple of things. You have to give yourself credit for that. And we're jumping ahead a little bit because that's my last point, but I'm happy you brought that up. I'm happy you brought that up. I really like watching reels and coming in for lives, even if just for a bit. I'm seeing that I'm not alone, even though I feel like I am. Yeah, Wendy, I appreciate you, and I think that's the awesome thing about the live streams. Like this morning, if we're being honest, this morning I'm motivated. My football team won a close game yesterday, so I feel great, right? But last week we lost, so on Monday I wasn't motivated. But I still have to wake up and go to the gym and get my affairs in order, right? So sometimes you might not be motivated, right? But if you have the discipline, it'll take care of you when the motivation's not there. All right. Now, another thing that can help out with motivation, this one is key right here. I talk about it all the time, but I got to keep bringing it back up, right? A simple routine, right? A simple routine is very, very helpful to have a very simple routine because when things are complex, right? What's the likelihood that you'll want to see it through? If if you have a long to-do list and every single thing is a super challenging thing, right? Or each thing requires a lot of steps for that thing to get done, it'd be hard for you to even start the thing, right? Like you look at your to-do list and I gotta go to the DMV, I gotta go to the laundry. I'm trying to think of things that I hate doing. Take the trash out, maybe something like that, right? But if you have all these things to do and you consider it kind of complex, you're not going to start. You're not going to be motivated, right? I got to balance my checkbook. I got to pay my bills. I have to, put gas in the car at night before the morning time. All those things are difficult to do because it's not that simple, right? So, what's the simplest way that you can start off your day, right? If it's maybe making breakfast, or maybe you go by Chick-fil-A in the morning, or you DoorDash something, like what's the simplest way to get things going, right? Break it down, make it super simple. And I think this is why kids, I always say that adult ADHD is worse than ADHD for kids. That's my opinion. It's not evidence-based, it's just my opinion. But I think so because it's difficult when you're an adult and nobody is going to check you. There's no accountability, right? But as a kid, you got your parents saying, "Oh, do this, do that, do this, do that," But when you're an adult, on a day when you don't feel like it, you don't have to. You can be in bed all day. You can oversleep. You can do whatever you want, right? Because nobody's checking you. You don't have to be accountable, right? So it's much harder sometimes when we're grown up as opposed to when we're kids. Yeah, I always go back to routine when in doubt. Rachel, I like that. And I was able to get combinations of work to help with routine and consistency, as that is extremely hard. So happy about it. This deserves a love of the show. And yeah, it's if you're able to get accommodations of work, right? For whatever you're struggling with, that goes a long way. And some employers don't get it, and that does make things a bit difficult, right? But if you're able to get some type of accommodation, like a little adjustment can go a long way. Pay bills, phone calls, dishes. Oh, you're naming all the things I hate. I hate all those things. I hate all those things. Creating Claire, what's going on? Claire from New Hampshire. Creating an intrinsic motivation to get things done is a challenge, and we often need extremes to push it down. Yeah, and sometimes for me, the only way that I can get things done is by putting like a tight timeline on myself. Like I gotta put like a deadline on myself and say, hey, all right, coach, we gotta get this done, and it has to be done by 10 o'clock this morning. All right. Now, best believe I will finish that thing by 10 o'clock. But if I say, okay, I have all day to finish it, I may not do it for a week or so, right? So it's pattern recognition and figuring out what works for you. How to stay motivated when dealing with major depression and living in a less than ideal living situation. Oh, it's a good question, Christina. It's a great question. I would say here we have to be very intentional about making things very easy, right? So number 2 is, as a simple routine. But you have to keep in mind that if you're dealing with major depression, the simple things become very difficult, right? So when you accomplish something that is fairly simple, for lack of a better term, right? But let's say you you're able to wake up, you brush your teeth, and you take a shower, or you do one of those two things, you have to give yourself a lot of credit. Because if you're depressed, the tendency to be in bed all day is high. You may not shower for days or weeks. You may not brush your teeth for days or weeks, right? So if you can do one of those two things, you give yourself credit, right? And by giving yourself credit, you have to say, I'm proud of myself. You have to use affirmations, hang around people who give you credit for doing those difficult things, right? And if you live in a less than ideal situation, that definitely makes it harder to deal with depression. Like, I can't lie. There's actual like evidence that shows that, dealing with, tough housing situations, dealing with, financial issues, all those things make it harder to bounce back from depression, right? So you're kind of in a tough situation, right? But you're not hopeless and you're not helpless, right? So it's important to understand that even you getting on the live stream this morning, right? You had to like pull out your phone and you have to hop on Facebook to access this live stream. You gotta give yourself credit for that. Like, that's a simple thing, but you woke up this morning, you got on Facebook and you asked a question. So you give yourself credit for that. So now you say, okay, I know my name is Christina. I woke up this morning and I was able to do this one thing. You give yourself credit for that. And then if you can brush your teeth afterwards, all right, now we're on a roll. We've done two things in the morning and we're extremely proud of what we've done. If you can't do anything else, you did your best, right? But if you can do something else and you don't tire yourself out, all right, cool. Let's keep stacking up the wins little by little. But you don't want to go too fast, right? It's more important to know that the direction is more important than speed, because you don't want to burn yourself out, or you don't want to let the negative voices take over, right? And if you're dealing with depression, sometimes the negative voices get really loud in your head, and it makes you feel like you're worthless and you're not doing anything, So it's important to keep all those things in mind. Lines says, for anyone that may struggle to keep routines, I set alarms for every day of the week and label them for each task that I know I don't want to do and set them for the days they need to be done. Oh, wow. Where's my phone? Well, somebody screenshot that. I think my phone's charging, but I like that. Because it's the difficult things. The difficulty lies with things that we don't want to do a lot of times, right? So the dishes, the laundry, even if you look here, my camera equipment, I haven't like taken care of that. And if you look the other way, I think I'm doing, I still got some mess back there. I got some laundry I got to do. All that stuff, they'll get done later. Not this morning, because I got other things to do, but it'll get done later, right? So it's important to not overwhelm yourself. Pace yourself. Say, hey, I will get to this when I can. And if I can't get to it right now, it's fine. And the financial stuff is killing me right now. I wanted to use my skills to build my own thing, but attempting to keep up with inflation has driven me all the self-doubt. All right, so Meg, you're completely right. I've been keeping up with the news a little bit. Inflation is making things quite difficult, but as an individual like Meg, me, right, as Kojo and you, we don't control too much of inflation, right, and how things work, in this country. So the more we can focus on what we can do to make our lives a little bit simpler, the better we may do, if that makes sense. I just posted, set time limits and timers to get moved. Ooh. So I like Ashley's suggestion here. I'll give her a love this show. I'll give Ashley a love this show. I didn't have this as a suggestion, but time limits are very helpful. I did mention earlier to give yourself sometimes like a limited amount of time to get a thing done, right? If you have an off day, if Monday is an off day for you, right, and you have to get one small thing done, right? If you don't give yourself like a hour and a half, 2 hour time frame to get done, you may not get it done, right? Because there's no sense of urgency, right? Who's this about the dopamine crash? Derek. All right, let me answer this question and I'll get to the third point. Dopamine crash question. I wake up at 3:30. Mickey Ficky. Cold exposure, exercise, make coffee, do dishes, laundry, cycle dogs outside and feed. Okay, cool. Make kids breakfast and lunch, ready for school drop off, pick up more dogs and home by 10. Dopamine crash from Wait, I was supposed to have like pass out. Blackout for 2 3 hours. How can I stop this? Dopamine crash. Dopamine crash. So you wake up super early and you're running all day. All right, so I'm not too familiar with, or I'm not sure what you're asking, but I will say this, right? So you're saying dopamine crash from all the small tasks I completed and passed. All right, so I will say this about dopamine, Derek. Dopamine, that's the neurotransmitter. That's the feeling that we get. Is like the anticipation of pleasure, right? So right before your favorite football team comes on TV, or as you're preparing for something like sex, right? If sex is going to happen in 30 minutes, right? It's a lot of dopamine going through your body, right? If it's about to be payday, it's a lot of dopamine, right? When we do all these activities that give us dopamine, is great, but we can't do them all like at once, right? You shouldn't be having all these dopamine, filling activities all at once, because you're gonna burn yourself out. So the key is to do things throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. They give you a little bit of dopamine here and there, right? So you're working, get some money, you may go out with friends for drinks, or there's all these different things that we can do for dopamine, but we don't want to do like all these things that, for example, when we talk about delaying gratification, right? If you're somebody who you need things now, and you can't tend to like work on things over time and let it build up, it can be difficult because you might be chasing things, right? Chasing. And it's important to break things up, right? So if all those activities that you stated give you dopamine, then you may want to give yourself some breaks throughout the day, because from the way it sounds, you may really enjoy every single activity. It gives you this big rush. That's fine, but you want to pace yourself and space it throughout the day. And let me see. Time limits give me anxiety. So, Jaslyn, yes, time limits may give you anxiety, but for some people, that anxiety is what they need to kick things into overdrive and to get things done, right? And the best type of anxiety is the one that you put on yourself, that is not real, right? So if I have to, get a car wash, by the end of the week, I don't really have to get a car wash, right? Like if I don't wash my car, nothing's gonna happen. Like my car is white, but I mean, if it's dirty, it's just a dirty car, right? But if I tell myself, all right, Kojo, by Tuesday, we gotta get this car washed, right? I'm putting that pressure on myself, and it's gonna make me a little more anxious, right? But it's not the end of the world. It's not that all-consuming, crippling anxiety that follows me around. I'm like, if I don't get my car washed, I'm gonna like explode. No, that's not gonna happen to me, right? But I put that time limit on myself, and it's kind of like a fake deadline. Oh, I gotta get my car washed by Tuesday. But if I don't do it, nothing will happen, right? Because I put the anxiety on myself, right? And if you get overwhelmed, you just say, all right, I'll do it next week. Depending on the task, right? For a car wash, for me, I can do that whenever. I can let my car be dirty for a little bit. I don't want it to be dirty all the time, but I can let it be dirty for a little bit. I can, because I have to actually wash my car soon. But I can wait until after Thanksgiving. I can do December. So it's not a priority. But if I want to get it done, I would give myself that time limit and say, all right, Coach, we got to get this thing done. Do you have a time limit to get dishes done? 15 minutes, pick a playlist of 6 songs that you really enjoy. Kristen, I don't, but I like this idea. I might try this. I really like this idea. Because if I give myself 15 minutes to get my dishes done with 6 songs that I really enjoy, I could probably clean. I could probably clean, yeah, the dining room and the kitchen. Maybe I need like 20 minutes, but 7 songs I really enjoy. I could get it done. I could get it done. All right, now the third tip before we get to this water break is you gotta give yourself some credit, right? You gotta take it easy and give yourself credit. So if you're somebody who you're struggling with motivation and you feel like you can't get anything done, the likelihood that you'll get frustrated is very high, right? Because when we don't get things done, or when we have a long to-do list of things that we've been pushing to next week, we all have it, right? We have a to-do list of things that we have to do this week, and maybe some things we should have done 3 weeks ago, right? So you get to today, what, November 14th, and you're like, dang, I should have done this in August or October. It's hard to get down on yourself and say, oh, I'm so unproductive. I'm the most unmotivated person in the world. I'm lazy. I'm not getting anything done. And when you tell yourself those things, they may be true. You start to believe that that's who you are. Maybe you had a rough month. Maybe October was rough for whatever reason, right? But if you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm lazy, I'm unmotivated, I can't get things done, I'm just the worst person in the world, it's going to be very difficult to feel good about yourself, right? So you have to understand that you have to give yourself some credit. So for everybody in here, right, there's all these things that we're doing throughout the day that are somewhat difficult, right? And things that require a little bit of motivation and or discipline. And we are already doing these things throughout the day, but we're not giving ourselves credit, right? So going back to the lady who commented and she said she was dealing with depression, right? If you're dealing with depression and you're able to wake up in the morning and navigate on your phone, give yourself credit. If you're dealing with depression and you're able to wake up and brush your teeth, give yourself credit. If you're able to wake up in the morning and you're able to get to work on time, you gotta give yourself credit, right? And when you give yourself credit for those things, it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. You can use that self-esteem boost, and you can let that take that energy, right? Ball it up, and it can turn into motivation, right? It can help you get things done because now you feel good about yourself, right? Because if you're not motivated and things are just passing you by, and your to-do list is getting longer and longer and longer, it's just gonna put you in a hole further and further, and you're like, ah. And just like the girl mentioned earlier, yeah, I just wait until I get manic to do things, and you can be very productive when you're manic, but it's not sustainable, right? Because then you get depressed again, and then nothing works. You don't get anything done until you get energy again. So we can't wait for the motivation or the mania to get things done. But I mean, if the motivation is there, if the mania is there, sure, get things done. Be safe, of course, as I say with mania, but get the work done. I listen to your Jacqueline, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have a small 4-song EP. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I appreciate that. And Derek says it gives me a big rush. I think because these are all new changes I've made to improve my ADHD issues. Okay, I think I'm getting it now. So each task accomplished is like I'm doing it. I'm getting there. Another step. The same thing happens if I eat 20 grams of sugar or after sex, done past that. All right, Derek, that makes sense. So give yourself credit for everything they do throughout the day, right? And take that rush and help like yourself get to the next thing, right? So there's nothing wrong with doing all these new changes. And in fact, if you have ADHD, you may need to be cognizant of the fact that, oh, I just did this. Wow. You might need that motivation and that boost to get from task to task, So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Because if you have ADHD, it's hard to shift your attention from one thing to the next. Like that's documented, right? So if you're able to do something that can help motivate you to get from point A to point B to point C to point D, sure, that's fine. Just keep in mind to take breaks. Like breaks throughout the day are very helpful, whether you have ADHD or not. But taking a small break here and there can go a long way. I'm about to pick up my dog and take him from Lauren. Same here. And yeah, you may need right here. You may need to switch the alarms. Hank. That's my boy Hank. Let's go, Hank. Hey, miss you, my guy. Love you too, man. Hey, that was a tough game yesterday, but we pulled it out. I had to wear the Titans gear this morning. I had to. Yeah, it is time for the water break. And after the water break, I'll answer this question real quick, and then that'll be the show. All right. Water break. This gives us a chance to, stay hydrated because sometimes we forget to stay hydrated. I haven't had any water today, so this is the first sip of water on this Victory Monday. Cheers. This is sparkling water. That's the thing with the spicy water. It just hits you in your throat, not your throat, but in your throat. It just grips you sometimes. All right. Cheers. And oh yeah, we should have said cheers. And if you missed it, the 3 things to do if you struggle with motivation, they're here real quick. And let me go and let me see. Well, I don't give myself any credit for the actual task. I just think it was a catalyst. It would be serotonin, instead of dopamine for value task. So, all right, I don't want to confuse you, Derek, but when you finish something, right, and or that feeling that you get of, oh wow, I just did this thing, or like that boost you get, right? If there's some pleasure involved, right, and if it's an activity that you want to repeat because of the pleasure that is involved, it's more than likely dopamine, right? Serotonin helps to keep us balanced, and we figured out that when you give people medications that tend to increase serotonin, it can make them feel a little bit lighter. It can make them feel a little bit happier, right? But when it comes to depression, it's more complicated than just serotonin. But by giving yourself credit for the actual task, it does serve as a catalyst, right? I mean, it is a motivator, because that good feeling, right? That good feeling, I would say that's more so dopamine than serotonin. Because it's a good feeling, right? It feels good. You're like, oh wow, I like this. I want to do this again and again. Give yourself credit always. You only give yourself a hard time because you realize some of the problems and can identify what needs to be changed. And that's a big step. Yeah. Nah, anytime, Steve. And all right, real quick, what are the symptoms of mania? I think that's what you're trying to say here. So mania, real quick, is a distinguishing factor in bipolar disorder. So with mania, you'll often see people with pressured speech. You'll see people who have a lack of need for sleep. Like you can operate on little to no sleep and you feel amazing. Sometimes people get grandiose, right? Sometimes you might have symptoms of psychosis while you're manic. You may do things impulsively. You may mess with your credit card. You may seek out thrill-seeking behaviors, and mania can be extremely dangerous sometimes. But for people, sometimes that's the only way they can get things done. Because some people operate in only 2 states: mania or depression, and that can be quite rough. But mania is a distinguishing feature of bipolar disorder. So if there's no mania, then there's no bipolar disorder. Just to keep it simple. Kind of oversimplification, but for the most part, mania is the one distinguishing feature of bipolar disorder. Cynthia says, thank you. Just finally took my shower and gonna get ready for the day. Body doubling for the win. I'll take the little accomplishments. That's how it works, Cynthia. Literally, maybe you took a shower while you were listening to this, and now like you're dressed up and you got your keys, you're ready to go to work, you're ready to have a great day. So, likewise, for me here in Los Angeles, I plan to have a fantastic day. I plan to hit the gym, get some emails, and I normally start my morning off by watching the A to Z sports show in Nashville. Just watching Titan stuff, just stuff to make me feel good, right? But by me getting on here and doing this and talking to the 113 of you all, like I have that motivation now, right? So with this motivation that I have now from doing this show, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to allow myself to clean up a little bit, get the dog out, check all these emails, all right? The 100+ emails I got to check, and hit the gym, So that's the agenda for today. All right, so I gotta head off and get started, but I hope you all have a fantastic day. I hope you have a great morning. Thank you for those who were able to catch the show. If you couldn't catch it, the live stream is going to be live on the back end. But let's have a fantastic day. Let's enjoy this Victory Monday. If your team won, if not, hopefully you can get it next week. All right, share that. See your comment. Y'all take care. Have a great day.